My sister, Susana, says, Tot didn't know. Tot and Mom changed roles when we were little because Mom didn't know how to teach us to be young women. So Tot taught us what he knew. He taught us how to be a man. He taught us to do the things that he knew how to do. My father, born Rosendo Amador Manrique González, was known as Tot to us, T-O-T. It was what papi or dad was for other people's parents. My sister made it up when she was a little girl, and from there on, that was what we knew him as, Tot. My sister remembers that he taught us how to change the oil in our car. But me, what I remember most is some fun shapes that he taught us to make a napkin. Now, I'm only going to show you once, so eyes on the napkin. This was absolutely my favorite napkin shape, even though he taught us a whole bunch of them. But you'll see why I love this shape. Ta-da! This, ladies and gentlemen, is the bishop's hat. Apart from this wonderful, playful thing that he taught me, the most important thing he did for me was he taught me about sports and competition. Any of you out there watch the World Cup that was finished a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, give it up for the World Cup, Copa Mundial. You and I were one of, 714 million people around the world. Don't you feel bad now, the people that didn't raise your hands? Yeah. Who angsted when our team was losing and who yelled along with the Univision announcers when our team scored a goal! Golazo! Golazo! My father, if he was still alive, would have done what I did. I checked the schedule and I made sure that I was watching the Latin American teams and saving my best cheers for them. Like him, I also would have been cheering for the underdogs. In this case, one was Ghana, and another one was, it's true, the United States. I would never have played soccer, but my dad was a referee for the American Youth Soccer Organization, so he knew that in 1972 they were going to allow girls to play. And I don't think he really knew that it was because of the passage of Title IX. Nevertheless, I don't know what caused him to trade in giving me some Cinderella tacones and my quinceañera. Instead of buying me those and entering me into young womanhood, he bought me cleats. I remember the first time that I was on the soccer field with my bag. Now let me make one thing perfectly clear. I was not a tomboy. My sister Susana says, oh my God, Linda, on picture days, you would hog the bathroom in the morning. You were busy checking out your hairdo, and you were checking out your smile and the way to look at the camera. She goes, I didn't do that. I was just happy when the day was over, but not you. And she was right. So when I stepped on the cancha, which is what my dad called the field, for the first time, I was kind of, more interested in what I was looking like on that field. But suddenly, I had the ball, and I realized that there was nothing between me and the goal but the goalie. And I started dribbling and running with the ball, and then I realized I don't know what to do. But I sat there, and all of a sudden, my father's voice came into my head. Take your time. I looked at the ball, I looked at the goal, and boom, I shot it into the corner. What a blast. I loved that feeling, and I chased it for years and years and years. After that, every Saturday, we were at the soccer fields, watching my brother play, then going to another Los Angeles field and watching me play. And one year, my sister played with us. You were so intense, Linda, she says. She goes, you were so righteous when people fouled you, and you were really righteous when they called you for fouling. I thought, doesn't she know that there could be bad consequences? If I did, I didn't care. After a full day on the field, I would come home and I would turn on the TV, and yes, you guessed it, I was watching sports. One day, my father walked into the room wearing his typical home uniform, a button-up flannel shirt, sweatpants, and some warm pantuflas on his feet. And he saw me there. Mija, he said, I got your report card. And look at here. It says that you have a B- in algebra honors. Oh, I don't like the teacher and the students are so serious, and I hate algebra. You do not hate anything. You dislike it. One of his favorite dichos rolled off his tongue, and I had to do everything I could not to roll my eyes. Okay, but could we do it after the game? No. An education is important. It is what will make something of you. You have to respect your mind. You have to exercise your muscles, not just in your body, but in your mind. Okay, I'll try harder. I gave him my best school picture smile, and he walked away. And I went and turned the TV back on. My father worked as a banquet captain at the Century Plaza Hotel. And I worked in the coat room, often with my mother and my sister. I would see my father walking along, and I thought he looked quite elegant in his tuxedo, but I thought it was a little weird that he had a coat of clear nail polish on. Who does that? Sometimes, if it was a really big pachanga, like the Golden Globe Awards, he would be standing next to Frank, who was the head maitre d'. Frank's pale tallness was in great contrast to my father's short, brown stature. One day, I got a phone call from my sister. Linda, you're not going to believe this, but Frank reamed Todd out in front of all the waiters. And get this, for favoring the Mexicans. Oh, we know that isn't true. He doesn't cut Mom or us any slack. Why would he favor the Mexicans? I know. But get this, he quit on the spot. I can't imagine what Mom said when she heard about this. I imagine that scene for my parents. I think about my father, and I think of him saying, "Ese pinche pendejo! Doesn't he know, after all these years of working and being his right-hand man, that I would never play favorites because I was not treated fairly? Unlike him, I began as a dishwasher and then a waiter, and now I am a capitan, and he has no right to treat me that way. No right at all." What happened is my father went and worked at the International Hotel for a couple of weeks as a waiter. I imagine him coming home, exhausted from the physical labor and humiliated from having to take orders from a captain who knew less than he did. In a surprise turn of events, Frank apologized to my father, probably the first and last time that ever happened. My father came back to work for him, and even though he had lost the battle, Tot won the war. 5 years after putting on my first pair of cleats, I transferred to Stanford University. My parents drive me up in their Dodge camper van, and we turn onto Palm Drive, and I'm peeking out from those high back chairs of those vans, and I see all these fortress of buildings coming up in front of me, and my gut clenches. The memorial church is like the eye of Sauron, And it follows us as we drive around the campus, and my parents deposit me in my dorm. Finding something that made me comfortable was important, so I signed up for a soccer class. I showed up the first day, and I have my soccer ball, and I put my shoes on, and I'm warming up, doing the little drills to warm up. Here we go, warming up. And then I realize as I look up that there are a sea of men and only 1, 2, 3, 4 women. The soccer coach, a man in his 40s, sees exactly what I see. Okay, he says, you 4 girls, you line up right here. The rest of you line up behind them. That way, you only have one of them on your team. Wow. Well, I say, okay, I'm going to work with this. All right, will you help me? I'm going to warm up. I'm going to pass you the ball. So I pass the ball to somebody, and I see that I'm actually better than they are. Yeah. I know how to stop it with my instep, and then, oh, come on, you can do it to me. All right. And I can pass it with my left or my right foot. But it doesn't matter. Every single class, he pulls us out and does the same thing. In the meantime, I'm on the scrimmage field, and I'm running, and I'm yelling, I'm open! And time after time, the ball gets kicked to a man who is guarded, and my team keeps losing the ball, but they never change what they do. So what do? I step back, because the defender always gets the ball. I'm standing there, and the ball, I'm stopping it with my stomach because I know how to do that, and I'm intercepting passes from other people, and then boom, a man jumps right in front of me and knocks me over. Hey, you're 50 pounds heavier than I am. They just look at me, and they move along. But I begin to hate coming to class. I begin to hate this sport that was such a love for me when I was younger. By the time the class ends, the apoyo of Todd and all the men who loved the sport is gone. These men were not raised by fathers who taught them to love soccer and to respect women who got on the field to play. My academic classes are not any better because I did not follow my father's advice and exercise my muscle. So what do? I look for pass-fail classes. And yes, Stanford has pass-fail classes. Yes, it's true. So I'm taking sign language and the oral history of women and fitting it in between my 15-hour-a-week work-study job. Todd gave me everything he could as an immigrant with very little formal education. But by the time I graduate, I, unlike him, do not believe in the level playing field. And I put away my ball for many years, and I don't play any sports. Well, what happens? I turn 30, I move to the Bay Area for the last time, and I think, okay, I'm going to play soccer again. I join a team, and it doesn't work out, so I join another team, and it doesn't work out. In the meantime, I'm in a job, and it doesn't work out. I'm in another job, and it doesn't work out. Finally, I swear I am quitting my last soccer team just as I am fired for insubordination. My sister was right. There can be bad consequences when you do not keep your mouth shut. Devastated, I call my father. Fight back. The rules will protect you. He's still a believer, but I am not. I don't want to fight. But my judgment is really full of holes these days, and so I decide to do what he says. The EEOC woman calls me up and says, well, you know, I can make it hard for them, but I'm going to have to find in their favor because nobody has the exact same job you do. Oh, don't bother, I say. Do not bother. At least I won my unemployment benefits. I'm just done with fighting. Meanwhile, I'm open finally to the information and the consejos, the advice that my father might give me. But he dies when my children turn 1, and my self-employment, as you can imagine, that might have led me to there, turns 2. Full of grief, I decide, I can't believe this, I'm saying this, I decide to try soccer one more time because it's something that he and I loved. I sign up for a Marin County class, and I'm driving there, but my gut is clenched again, and I'm thinking like an abused woman, oh my God, I hope he treats me right. I hope this time it's gonna work out. The class is taught by a man named Greg, a Brit, who greets me. Hey mate, good to see you. Now I'm gonna teach you how to create space. He gets the ball and he's like, now, squat down and get your bum out. And I want you to go like this. See how I'm protecting the ball? And then you look for the best time to shoot and pass the ball to somebody else. He goes, now you try it. I go, okay, all right. I go, this feels a little weird. You know, I'm already kind of shorter than everybody already. This kind of makes me even shorter. You know that height can't trump skill. You've watched the Women and the Men's World Cup, and you've seen it. You've got to try. You've got to keep trying. And then he says, and if you're the one trying to get the ball, give a little tug. And he rips my shirt. Oh, but that's a foul. I can't do that. That's a foul. Fouling is part of the game, and a clever woman uses it to her advantage. The key is to be strategic. Wow, this is like everything is opening up for me. And I'm like, okay, we're fouling and we're getting fouled, and I'm not getting that anger coming up that I used to. And I begin to play a different game, not only on the field, but in life. On the field, I stopped getting yellow cards. Now, for those of you who are not clued into soccer, a yellow card is given to you by a ref when you are having unsportsman or unsportswoman-like conduct. And this had been something that had been happening to me. But after this class, no more yellow cards. No more yellow cards. And finally, I had to admit what everybody else knew, and probably the rest of you have figured out. I am very competitive. Yes. In the parlance of my father, I dislike to lose. As the World Cup came to an end and comes to an end every 4 years, I thank my father for opening me up to this incredible lesson of learning how to be competitive and fair. Now, let me be clear that he always was trying to temper my genial, because I would lose my temper all the time, and he saw that. And when he would get really, really frustrated with me, he would come up and go, relax! Now, I don't know about you, but that tone, it didn't work for me. It did not work for me. I was not open to that lesson for many, many years. The lesson I have been open to from him is, there are no problems, only situations. And I repeat it to myself over and over again. As for me, I retired from my 16th team called Las Latinas at the age of 47. And now I wear a cute tennis skirt, and I am now playing tennis. Still working on finesse, still thinking about fouls, still wondering what else the world has to offer me. I am following also in my father's footsteps. He went from soccer to racquetball to golf. He never stopped competing, and I don't either. Thinking about competition and my father and his legacy led me to think about my own children. They played soccer when they were in grammar school, but they did not fall in love with it the way I did, the way my father did. And I was so mad because they were so good. But that's the way it goes. I decide to ask my daughter about my potential legacy with them. What did I teach you about competition? She gives me that look that says, why are you asking me this? And then she says, have fun. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. What? What? Of course it matters if you win or lose. Where have I gone wrong? Where have I gone wrong? Now, this is all in my head, okay? That's all in my head. I turn to her and say, really? She said, you never let me quit a team when I wasn't having fun. I always let you quit, but not until the end of the season. Now I am really curious, so I ask her twin brother the same question. And he says, let's see, play fair and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. I'm like, alrighty then, something's happening here that is not in my control. So I had to think about what happened with them and sports. Their teams were not going to win much. So I had to step back from my win, win, win voice and think, what else could they learn? Having my daughter come to me her first season of crew and say, Mom, punch me in the abs, to show how much in shape she was wonderful. And watching my son do, and I cannot do this, but the scissor kick where the ball comes up and then you kick it over your head like that, he could do that. Or watching him wrestle with his friends after a game brought me the joy that my father might have felt when I scored my goals. Now trust me, no matter how much I've learned, I still get my feathers all ruffled and wet sometimes, and I kind of lose my patience with myself or other people. But when that happens, I think about Todd and his dogged determination to do the best and ask the best from me and the best from his waiters and from the people in his life. Now, remember, he is the man of many dichos, many consejos, many sayings that he used to teach me a different way of responding to competition and anger and frustration. So I think it's time that I end this with one of my own dichos, which is, and remember, I'm only going to say it once, so listen. Fouling often determines the score in sports and life. So if you're going to do it, be strategic.